get your
you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconciled bonds. Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that y'all. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I'ma make you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debate and cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, we're through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it? And my occupation got me agitated, but I'm obligated later. Rest of conversating be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I'ma make you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Yeah, they don't know their own strength. To go to length to show them all. That's why we came with no restraint. Anywhere we go against it's over with. We pull the boulder out the bottom mold and just know that we are not gonna be going quiet. Got it on autopilot, automatic, stuff louder than all your bias. We on top, give you my word, you hold them by it. Hold the rides, letting the army that's behind them remind them that I am
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I'ma make you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
never fall back. We will stay right where we at. We never fall back. Yeah. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Ha. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Come up with a game plan. Double XL up in the pen, you can't shake that. All the way gassed up, full tank, man. Moving too quick, keep the cameras in the playback. Dang, so tell me how you feel with it. You put a lid on it, I ain't got no chill with it. This right here your problem, you gon' have to deal with it. Lay it on the line, high risk, that's the meal ticket. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. No lies, no facts. We gon' stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Been way down, never falter. Came with the hands out, get them off us. I'm 24/7 in the office. Pay attention cause I ain't repeating offers. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need the hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Yeah. No lies, all facts. You can find me right where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never Now there ain't nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconciled bond, so ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those for well to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debating cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, we're through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it. And my occupation got me agitated, but I'm obligated. Later, rest of conversating be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Yeah, they don't know their own strength. To go to length to show them all. That's why we came with no restraint. Anywhere we go against it's over with. We pull the boulder at the bottom mold it. And just know that we are not gonna be going quiet. Got it on autopilot, automatic, stuck louder than all your bias. We on top. Give you my word, you hold them by it. Hold the rise, letting the army that's behind them remind them that I am
invincible. I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Never fall back. We will stay right where we at. We never fall back. Yeah. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Ha. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Come up with a game plan. Double XL up in the pen, you can't shake that. All the way gassed up, full tank, man. Moving too quick, keep the cameras in the playback. Dang, tell me how you feel with it. You put a lid on it, I ain't got no chill with it. This right here your problem, you gon' have to deal with it. Lay it on the line, high risk, that's the meal ticket. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. No lies, no facts. We gon' stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Been way down, never falter. Came with the hands out, get them off us. I'm 24/7 in the office. Pay attention cause I ain't repeating offers. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need a hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Yeah. No lies, all facts. You can find me right where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds, ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those for well to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debating cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me, you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, moved through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it? And my occupation got me activated, but I'm obligated later. Rest of conversating be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Yeah, they don't know their own strength. We go to length to show them all. That's why we came with no restraint. Anywhere we go against, it's over with. We pull the boulder at the bottom older. They just know that we are not gonna be going quiet. Got it on autopilot, automatic, stuck louder than all your bias. We on top, give you my word, you hold them by it. Hold the rise, letting the army that's behind them remind them that I am
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Never fall back. We will stay right where we at. We never fall back. Yeah. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Ha. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Come up with a game plan. Double XL up in the pen, you can't shake that. All the way gassed up, full tank, man. Moving too quick, keep the cameras in the playback. Dang, tell me how you feel with it. You put a lid on it, I ain't got no chill with it. This right here your problem, you gon' have to deal with it. Lay it on the line, high risk, that's the meal ticket. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. No lies, no facts. We gon' stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Ha. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Been way down, never falter. Came with the hands out, get them off us. I'm 24/7 in the office. Pay attention cause I ain't repeating offers. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need the hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Yeah. No lies, all facts. You can find me right where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those for well to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debating cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me, you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, moved through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it. And my occupation got me activated, but I'm obligated later. Rest of conversating be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Yeah, they don't know their own strength. To go to length to show them all. That's why we came with no restraint. Anywhere we go against, it's over with. We pull the boulder at the bottom molded. And just know that we are not gonna be going quiet. Got it on autopilot, automatic, stuck louder than all your bias. We on top. Give you my word, you hold them by it. Hold the rise, letting the army that's behind them remind them that I am
invincible. I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Never fall back. We will stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Ha. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Come up with a game plan. Double XL up in the pen, you can't shake that. All the way gassed up, full tank, man. Moving too quick, keep the cameras in the playback. Dang, so tell me how you feel with it. You put a lid on it, I ain't got no chill with it. This right here your problem, you gon' have to deal with it. Lay it on the line, high risk, that's the meal ticket. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. No lies, no facts. We gon' stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Ha. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Been way down, never falter. Came with the hands out, get them off us. I'm 24/7 in the office. Pay attention cause I ain't repeating offers. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need the hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Yeah. No lies, all facts. You can find me right where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. Go ahead and bring Goliathon. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that y'all. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debate and cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me, you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, we're through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it? And my occupation got me agitated, but I'm obligated later. Rest of conversating, be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Yeah, they don't know their own strength. To go to length to show them all. That's why we came with no restraint. Anywhere we go against, it's over with. We pull the boulder at the bottom, mold it, and just know that we are not gonna be going quiet. Got it on autopilot, automatic, stuck louder than all your bias. We on top, give you my word, you hold them by it. Hold the rise, letting the army that's behind them remind them that I am
invincible. I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
never fall back. We will stay right where we at. We never fall back. Yeah. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Ha. We never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back. Come up with a game plan. Double XL up in the pen, you can't shake that. All the way gassed up, full tank, man. Moving too quick, keep the cameras in the playback. Dang, so tell me how you feel with it. You put a lid on it, I ain't got no chill with it. This right here your problem, you gon' have to deal with it. Lay it on the line, high risk, that's the meal ticket. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. No lies, no facts. We gon' stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Ha. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Been way down, never falter. Came with the hands out, get them off us. I'm 24/7 in the office. Pay attention cause I ain't repeating offers. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need a hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Huh. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Yeah. No lies, all facts. You can find me right where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debating cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me, you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, we're through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it? And my occupation got me acting jaded, but I'm obligated later. Rest of conversating be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
Yeah, they don't know their own strength. We go to length to show them all. That's why we came with no restraint. Anyone we go against, it's over with. We pull the boulder at the bottom older. They just know that we are not gonna be going quiet. Got it on autopilot, automatic, stuck louder than all your bias. We on top, give you my word, you hold them by it. Hold the rise, letting the army that's behind them remind them that I am
invincible. I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
never fall back. We will stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Ha. We ain't never fall back. And you can find me where I'm at. We ain't never fall back. Come up with a game plan. Double XL up in the pen, you can't shake that. All the way gassed up, full tank, man. Moving too quick, keep the cameras in the playback. Dang, tell me how you feel with it. You put a lid on it, I ain't got no chill with it. This right here your problem, you gon' have to deal with it. Lay it on the line, high risk, that's the meal ticket. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. No lies, no facts. We gon' stay right where we at. We ain't never fall back. Yeah. Now there ain't nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am.
All that debate and cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me, you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, we're through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us, we just reinvigorated. Little agitated, had to get them activated. No kind of active ain't it. And my occupation got me acting jaded, but I'm obligated. Lay the rest of conversating, be an understatement just to say that. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though, so here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it all. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Season 2, Episode... not Episode 5. We had a change in programming, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to rerun Season 1, Episode 4 with Nick Lambert in Montana. We were going to be doing a live interview with him and Clark, and they were going to be talking about growing pains. Nick's already done a show with us, Season 1, Episode 4, that we will be rerunning, and he talks about growing pains. Here's a hint. He basically got rid of most of his employees and started from scratch. His business has gone from that, nothing, and I think they're going to be pushing on $5 million this year. So we want to kind of set the stage for the show that we were going to have today that we're not going to be able to. All right. So rerun today, and in a few weeks we're going to have a live interview with Nick to give us an update on how things are going since the last interview. Also, they're going to talk about scaling up to 30, 40 employees and what that looks like compared to the first iteration of his business. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good show. Hope you enjoy it. Be sure to drop a comment below because we want to respond to the questions that you have on this episode when we talk to Nick next time. Take care, guys.
And welcome. You're listening to the Disaster Podcaster. I'm your host, Clark Brown. We're going to be talking about the restoration industry. We're going to talk about the projects that we run, the challenges that we face, and the people that make up this industry. We're going to sometimes just have conversations, and sometimes we're going to have great, incredible guests. Whatever we do, it's going to be real, it's going to be authentic, and it's going to be fun. So we're glad you made it, and I hope you enjoy it. Good afternoon or morning, depending on when you're listening to this. We are in Billings, Montana this week. This is going to be another bonus episode. So I can't say bonus episodes anymore because this is actually the second time that I've thrown an unscheduled podcast into the mix. So we're throwing this in. I'm in Billings, Montana with a client and a friend, and we were just having conversation over lunch and meals, and I said, let's stop right there and let's have those conversations. So I'd like to introduce you to Nick Lambert with Faithful Disaster Restoration in Billings, Montana.
What's up, everybody? I'm glad to be able to jump on here with Clark and just share some of my experiences with everyone and see if maybe it can be influential and motivational to anyone that might be listening.
Awesome. First, let's start with the name of the company, brother. Let's talk about Faithful Restoration.
Faithful Disaster Restoration. So we were started in October of 2005, and I actually started as a house cleaning company. And at the time, I'd been stuck in the restaurant industry for 7 long years, and I had seen the success my neighbor was having with a cleaning company. And so I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go start this cleaning company. She says, Nick, I can't imagine a guy cleaning houses and having it work. And I said, well, I'm just going to have a lot of faith in God that it's going to work. And she says, well, that can be your name. Your name can be Faithful. So I actually said, okay. So, we started as Faithful Housekeeping, moved into Faithful Cleaning. As we added carpet cleaning and restoration, we moved into Faithful Cleaning and Restoration. And now all we do is disaster restoration. So our name is now Faithful Disaster Restoration. So over the past 15 and a half years, we have transitioned to many different names, starting with that Faithful Housekeeping all the way into Faithful Disaster Restoration.
Yeah, quite a journey you've been on. I will tell everybody that's listening, and you're going to hear some noises going on, and I'm going to edit some things out, but I want you to know that we're sitting out in a pretty new, probably 6 to 7 months. We're sitting in the contents center. An entire center was built around their contents production processes, but we would be in an office, except at the moment there is no office. Nick and his team you purchased your building.
Yeah, I purchased the building about 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're doing a major renovation.
Major renovation.
A lot of growth, took over some extra space here in the building. And, he's got a neighbor, but doing a major renovation. So we have a temporary office, which everybody's in.
Trailer on wheels.
Trailer on wheels. Everybody's really close and really up and personal. So so good growth, but we're out in the warehouse where, listen, everybody's cut out for the day. It's been really busy week. I think for a couple of weeks, that was slow. But everybody's out working right now.
Yeah, I don't want to say slow, but over Christmas, New Year's, the call volume dropped a little bit. But for whatever reason, since 2nd or 3rd of January, it's just been crazy, and there's no stopping right now. It's we can't keep up with the call volume.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
It is we're very blessed to be in that position, but like most of our fellow restoration companies that we know around the country, we're struggling to find good help.
Yeah, and that transcends restoration. It's any blue collar.
Absolutely.
The idea, and anybody that listens to Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, the idea that this country has vilified or villainized the idea of doing blue collar work. And you talk to any plumbing company that does good work, HVAC. These are services that people still need, but we just can't do them. So,
nope.
Yes, and Nick's right. I could probably talk to 12 or 15 people tomorrow, and half of them are ailing with that. So, especially if you're doing good work and you're growing. Well, listen, I wanted to give a real quick backstory. Nick and I met with the Alliance of Independent Restorers Summit in Boulder, Colorado. Wasn't that a great summit?
It was a great summit. One of my first ever summits like
so
that.
Nothing to compare it to.
Nothing. No, I'd been to REITs when they did their first major event where they had a 5-day event. I did that at the end of 2018. But this was my first event where it was just a multitude of different individuals from our industry that were,
different
together.
sizes, different
sizes,
great
everything.
speakers. And REITs does the same thing. REITs puts on a great, but I know that, and I have too, but you met a lot of people that are now considered friends and colleagues.
Oh, absolutely.
And keep relationships up with. So we met in Boulder for that event. That's where we kind of formed a conversation. And then later, that was in spring of 2019. And then later in the year, we bumped into each other again in beautiful Clearwater, Florida at the Experience. And,
beautiful place.
And at that time, it was more of okay, we've met, and I've heard your name a little bit more, and you started asking. You had some particular, and I didn't know it right away, but you had some particular pain points in the business. So we started, talking it out, and then, it again. You were saying yesterday, it was like I wasn't pushing you, I'm not close the sale, but you were fishing, and I was offering whenever you had something. But I guess it was June or July of 2019. We kind of locked it in and said, let's tackle these things.
Yeah, I think it was June of 19, and then right after we locked it in, we brought you up here for a visit, and so we've been working together for not quite 2 years, but getting close to that point.
Yeah. So we get together a couple times a year, two at least two. Sometimes if circumstances, the growth has been so incredible. Sometimes like this one wasn't scheduled till last minute, but this brought us to. This ties into a conversation we were having. I don't know. We were having this conversation. We always do, but your culture. So
Culture.
you had a staffing issue, which was causing everything.
Yeah.
That started everything, and was one of the reasons that said, "Hey, come aboard." At that point, you had already cleaned house.
Yeah. So give you a little bit of a backstory. I got deep into disaster restoration right about 2010, and of course, right after that, started hiring team members to be part of my team. Turned the corner, let's just say 2018. Into 2017, I started seeing some stuff happening with my team that I didn't like. I started seeing some stuff happening that I really wanted to change. And so going into 2018, one of my major goals was to really take back my business. I didn't feel like I had control over my own company. I felt like there was an internal power struggle with me and some of the team members that I had on staff. And so at that point, we were only a staff of 8. And, I spent the better part of 18 trying to change those key individuals that were causing me bad culture issues. And of course, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Clark, I tried doing everything I could to get the management that I had in place on board with the changes I wanted to make. And these weren't selfish changes. They were changes that were needed for our company to be able to continue to grow and continue to build. And we just couldn't get them to wrap their heads around it. If it wasn't their idea that they came up with, they didn't want to be a part of anything different.
Yeah.
And one of the things we really wanted to do is we wanted to go digital. We wanted to start embracing a lot of the technology that was in our industry, and unfortunately I couldn't get them to do that. So as we turned the corner towards the end of 2018, Clark, I was slow.
Yeah.
I'm talking the phone was not ringing slow. I'm talking we started I went bad into debt just to keep this team together, because it wasn't that I was afraid of making changes, it was that I was afraid of going backwards, because I had felt like every time we've tried to push and climb this mountain to try to grow our company to a massive level, it seems like we've come hurling back down. And so this was just one of those situations that I felt similar. But as we approached Christmas of 2018, we were dead. We weren't getting calls. And at that point, I had to really have a conversation with myself. These key individuals aren't following what I want my vision for the company. They're not following with what I want to make this company, which they just weren't on board. And so as we turned into 2019, right around January of 2019, I made the decision that I needed to get rid of most of my staff. I needed to get rid of the bad apples. I needed to get rid of the people that were telling me to my face, "Oh yeah, Nick, we like that idea. It's a great idea." And then going behind my back and getting the rest of the team members upset, saying, "Well, what the hell is Nick thinking? He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's just causing us more work." And so actually about this time, 2 years ago, not to the day, but pretty close, I brought every single person into my office one by one. I took a staff of, at that point we were a staff of 7, and I let everybody but 3 guys go. And
4 people.
No, I let 4 people go.
Yeah, 4 people go.
We kept, and one of those guys would have been let go. He had quit about 2 weeks earlier in January. And so at that point, the 3 people that I kept, I said, "Look, I'm keeping you guys because I really feel like we're hitting the reset button. We're going to start casting a vision of what I want for this company. We're going to create a culture that's conducive to everybody growing and wanting to work here and enjoying to work here." And and I said, this is what we're going to do. Let's grab the bull by the horns and let's go.
I'm going to ask you a question because I think it's important for people listening. How hard was that day?
Probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I mean, boy, you envision how the conversations are going to go. You envision what you're going to be able to say and try to come up with reactionary statements to them. I wasn't sure if half of them were going to get violent. I wasn't sure if half of them were expecting it. At that time, my general manager had been with me for 5 years in that position, and he was one of the guys I decided to let go of. And that was the hardest thing to do, because at that point, our relationship had dwindled so much at that point.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how he was going to react. I didn't know if he was going to get violent and start throwing shit around my office. I didn't know if he was going to get up and, just walk out. And it was actually really, really hard to do. But we had to do it. We had to do what
You'd already come to the conclusion this was the right thing.
It was the right thing.
It wasn't hard. You weren't questioning whether you were making the right decision. It was just, how do I, because I know you care about people. How do I let these people
How
go?
do I let these people go?
And
Yeah.
so, and also I want to say, I've been in your office. You have a lot of stuff, or shit, as you said. They had a lot of stuff to choose from to throw. There's a DeLorean. There's probably an R2D2. So,
Probably Goonies poster. Yeah.
So I knew that caused you a lot of stress. But I have another question, and because
Sure.
this is going to lead to much of what we're talking about. So, had you not let it manifest so long, would it have been all four, or was it a tumor that spread?
Yeah. So
And you let it fester, and it infected others, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, the first thing that we have to do is we have to, in these type of situations, we have to really look at ourselves in the mirror, and we have to say, who is ultimately responsible for this?
Yeah.
You know what? And at the end of the day, it wasn't my general manager. It wasn't the other people. It was one bad apple that spread, but it was me who allowed that, because I gave too much trust over to somebody and didn't really entail all my expectations to them.
Yeah.
And at that point, when I really wanted to make the changes, they just weren't on board with it, because there's a lot of pride involved, making sure that it was their idea. But, it comes back to me. I'm the one who allowed it. And I knew it was getting bad. I knew it was getting bad at the end of 2017, but I did nothing to stop it. I mean, this is going to sound horrible, Clark, but I was intimidated. I was intimidated to stand up to him, because what would happen is he would rally all the troops, so to speak.
Yeah, you felt on an island.
I felt on an island, and there were times when they would bring something to my attention. We'd have a morning meeting. They'd bring something to my attention, and it was every single person around the table would tell me that, well, they don't agree with this decision. They don't agree with that decision. And at the end of the day, whose company is it? Who's writing the checks?
Yeah.
It was me writing the checks. It was my company at that point who had went well over $300,000 in the hole to keep something alive, that
keep them paid,
to
their
keep them
families,
paid, to keep
their
them paid.
mortgages, and their everything.
Mortgages. Clark, Christmas of that year, I had to put on a credit card because I had cleaned out my savings just to make sure that people got bonuses. It wasn't even bonuses; it was commissions based off of how we set stuff up, and it was a complete bullshit commission. But I'm happy it happened though, because everything that happened, it leads to who we are today. We become stronger by our mistakes. And really, I had to start with myself. That was the first thing. I had to start with myself, and I had to really get myself on board, because I'll be honest with you, I consider just being a two-man show, me and one other guy, and let's just run it. And sometimes your profit margins are better that way than being a big company. But I thought, I'm a man of faith, and I really felt like, that's not what God envisions for this company. It's not what I want to do for this company. Essentially, God forced my hand to make some decisions that were well overdue.
Yeah.
And I cut those people. And Clark, we hadn't had 2 jobs come in that month. It was just dead. Hadn't had a winter yet. And this is January, Montana, and we hadn't had a winter. It's almost like this year, it's a lot of wind, but no cold and no snow. I let those guys go in the morning. I went and had lunch, and that afternoon we started getting calls. And over the next few days, we started having calls. Clark, you can't write this stuff.
No.
The next week, we had a huge snowstorm move through. That was a huge cold that sat in. And that cold did not let up until the middle of April. We were so slammed, we couldn't keep up. And it was just 4 of us. But Clark, the 4 of us were doing more work than the rest,
7.
than the 7 of them. And so that's when I set out to okay, I guess we are rebuilding this thing, and we are going to go with it. And I dug myself out of that deep financial hole that we were in, and we started doing stuff differently. We started hiring people based off of not necessarily need, but position. I need somebody that's going to come in and do this. I need another person that's going to come in and fill this certain need for our company. And we started looking at key individuals that were going to be important to our company, who are going to fit the culture going forward. And we took some chances on some people that that most people would have maybe passed up, and those guys have become some of my most loyal guys. and they have really, really pushed the culture in our business.
When you say, and I want to add in here, when you say you invested in people, you didn't bring them aboard. You just like, if once I chose the right person, and now I'm not the Nick that I was a year ago.
Nope.
I learned. I've got scar tissue, and I've learned my mistake, and I know what happens if I do it again, and I don't like how that feels.
Nope.
You invested in people again.
Yep.
The right people. Jim Collins, the right people, right in the right seats. I can train them. I'm good enough of a person, and I know enough about this industry. So you brought it, and you do. And let's fast forward for just a moment.
Sure.
To today, you have 13?
14
14
people, and we need more. So at this point, there are 3 positions we are currently hiring for.
Yeah.
And if those 3 positions got filled tomorrow, then we would be 2 years later, going from 3 to 17 people. Yeah. I expect, Clark, within the next 4 weeks, we'll probably be 17 people.
So this growth still might not be enough. But what's interesting is some of your key players came from within. And we just finished I'm up here today. We're writing job descriptions for jobs that didn't exist 2 months ago. So we found that for this thing to grow and scale, there needs to be new positions with leadership to create junior leaders and create more pillars. Because I'll go into that in a minute, but I want to go back to everyone that just heard that story. I don't know how many are going to listen to this, maybe 2 people or maybe 200, but they're probably, if they hear it, they're going to say, I have absolutely been in that position.
Yep.
And sometimes it's with friends and family.
Yep.
And you keep people aboard because what's that going to look like at Thanksgiving if I fire my cousin or my brother? But listen, I think what, and I see this a lot as a coach, you have to separate business and remove the emotion. So you've got at that point, you had 3 more people and you didn't know who was going to stay or not. But
Nope.
It's not about the ones you keep, but it's the ones that are wanting to be here to build something with you.
Yes.
You owe them to not keep that cancer around, let it go, and then cut it out. And then now you have the culture is such in place that the team will not allow to keep people around. They actually kick out the bad actors. They clean their own ranks.
Yep. We've brought a couple people on, and we're pretty particular about who we hire. They've got to have a resume. There's things that we look for in the resume before we even consider them for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
If they get through the first interview, we have them do a disc assessment,
culture index. Yeah,
culture. I mean, they have to really be. They have to go through some hoops to get through here.
Yeah,
and there have been people that we have hired, and 4 days in, I start getting culture reports, so to speak, back from the team, and they're like, "Boss, your homeboy ain't gonna make it." And I'm like, "He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it." They're like, "Nope, ain't gonna happen."
Gotta have faith.
Gotta have faith, and you know what? And we find ourselves, they push these new people. They push each other to make everybody better. And if they're not, they'll push a new guy that comes on. They'll challenge him and they'll push him. If the new guy doesn't rise to the occasion, they will eat him up.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mean it in a bad way, but this is a family here.
Yeah.
And all my guys truly believe that it is a privilege to work here.
Yeah.
They enjoy working here. They have fun working here. And so it is so important for them that when we hire somebody, that these people have the company's best intentions in mind. And one of the things that I think really these guys, if there's a job that comes in after hours, I don't have to beg for, hey, I need somebody to go out. We put out a text to let people know, hey, we got a job coming in after hours. I'm turning my guys away.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you know what? I only needed 3. I have 6 people that are ready here. Yeah. But when they see new people that aren't rising to those type of occasions, they're just like, man, this guy ain't here for the company, you know? And so it's
cool.
It's very contagious.
And so your culture is culture. You've gotten good at expressing. You now are clear, and you're not alone. You got others that are helping you with that, which is a lot of people feel alone. When we talk about culture, and I'm going to talk about our industry, but we're probably talking about any blue collar industry because most of us grew up in trades where culture didn't exist. Not real culture. So culture is, get out there, do your job, no whining, just do it. And if you don't know how to do something, I got to find somebody else that does. And for me, Nick, I talk to a lot of people and they say, well, I'm still a small company. And they think that that's something that only larger companies. And I'll say, well, how large do you think? Well, I think I need to have more than 10 people for like to have a real culture feel. Listen, I think you start building it from day one with one person and 2 people, and then it grows and increases with your core values and passion and stuff. So I hear a lot of people say a culture, I have a hard time measuring that. There's no KPIs for it. And I completely disagree.
Oh, I disagree too. Your culture is so important that you can measure it by the excitement of your staff and your team members. You can measure it by who enjoys getting up in the morning and coming to work.
And listen, there's a lot of people in the business, coaching world, consultants, that throw it around like, I'm a culture coach. But what does that look? We're people of physical things. What does that look like? We're used to results looking like a product that we make. So what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I think that any size of company can have a positive culture, and I think it starts with one person.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with yourself as an owner,
Mm-hmm.
creating a good culture, and then getting that out to your employees. So when I hit the reset button in my business, so to speak, it was just me and 3 other guys, and I started redoing the culture on day one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's little things that you do that
Mhm.
make big changes. And so it's not something that you need to be a big corporation to have good culture. Good culture will attract people to your company. We have interviewed people, Clark, that have probably been overqualified for, I don't want to say overqualified, but they've made better money other places,
Mhm.
but they're tired of dealing with the crap that they've
Yeah.
had to deal with. And so for them, they're like, man, this just seems like just such a great place to work.
I think people generally, so hitting that employment-wise, some people know that you have to go backwards to go forwards.
Yes, you do.
So you hit a reset. Some people know in their life they've got to hit a reset, saying, I'm at a job that I'm not going anywhere, and I can stay there another 3 years and just be miserable, or I can go somewhere, prove myself because I have confidence,
Yep.
and probably have a good opportunity. And guess what? Working for a restoration company where we actually help people, like I'm not selling a product, I'm actually selling
Yeah.
a service.
Some service.
To me, culture starts with, how do you want to say it? So if you have I know goals is it, but if your team is clear that you're trying to go somewhere and do something else, and that you identify who your best customers are, and if you back them up, I know of I just thought of a case where the employees, this team told the owner, we just went and did an assessment or a first response, and this is not a good fit for us.
Mhm.
But it was a big house, and I think the boss, and they told me, I think the boss is going to want us to do that job, but it's not going to be good for us. They told their employer, saying it's not a good job for us. He said, I trust you. Let's get out of doing it. And at that moment, that told those people that we meant more than a few dollars.
Absolutely.
And I've had those cases in racist forms. I've had
Yep.
African American employees that got talked to terribly, and the employer said, you know what?
Nope.
Your money's no good with us.
Yep.
And that's what we're supposed to do. So, forecasting and casting out the vision, and it not just being a sign on the wall or on your website, but you actually live it. You and I were just working on, we always look at the core values, saying
Core
release.
values,
So the core values aren't just keywords, but how would we say everybody gets filtered through that? Like, right, every person you hire or there wants a advancement or trying to get to another level, say, well, which of these core values is your toughest? Which so that's culture.
Is culture. And I think culture is also a feeling,
Yeah.
2 years ago, I dreaded getting up and coming to work.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. I would drag my ass out of bed, and it was everything I could to come in.
Yeah, and culture is top down. So if you feel
It
that
is.
way, everybody else is going to feel that
Exactly.
way.
But I was feeling that way because of the culture in my business.
Yeah.
So now,
Yeah.
I love the weekends here, and I'm like, the weekends here, and I'm like, oh man, I got to go home. I love hanging time. I love spending time with my family, but it's nice to be able to come to a place that you actually enjoy working. And that's not just how I feel.
Yeah.
It's contagious. Everybody feels
Yeah.
that way here. We try to keep very in tune with our personnel. We do one-on-one lunches with them.
Yeah.
So we rotate. So all the management takes out somebody different for lunch once a week, and we ask them for their ideas. We ask them for their feedback on everything. We really make every person in our company feel valued.
Yeah.
We make them feel like they are as important no matter what job they do. If they're scrubbing a toilet,
Yeah.
that job is just as important
Yeah.
as as what my
No.
operations manager do. And I think, Clark, I think it also is with the job titles and what you give them too, because you can take somebody who's doing janitorial work
Hmm.
and you could call them a janitor,
Yeah.
and that's not really it doesn't do much. But I can make cleaning a toilet feel that my guys that are cleaning the toilet
Sanitation ambassador.
sanitation ambassador sanitation technician. I mean, there's so many
Specialist, yeah.
specialists. There's so many different ways that you could do it, and by doing that actually makes them feel like, I mean, like I said, I can make cleaning a toilet feel like a valuable job and make them feel valued. And my team is we're so respectful of each other, and they're so respectful of me that and this is absolutely crazy, but we had a string back in November, a string of sewage backups. Water main had backed up in our town, had flooded about a city and a half block. We ended up with quite a few jobs, and we had to work over the weekend. And so I'm like, hey man, I'm coming in. And numerous times I was told, that ain't your job, boss.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to be there. No, that is not your job. Your job is here. Your job is to do what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Your job isn't, we're not going to have the CEO of our company standing in 2 feet of shit. And I'm like, okay. So you know what we did? My wife and I got up that Saturday morning. We went to Starbucks, got everybody a large ice mocha, went and got a bunch of donuts for them, brought it to them, actually served my guys, my whole staff,
Right.
before they started for the day, and said a quick prayer for them and their safety in the day. And then while they were out on the job site, I told them, I said, hey, whatever you guys decide you want for lunch, order it, have it Ubered, or not Uber Eats to the job site.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that makes huge differences to them, especially for them on a Saturday morning that I got up before 6 so we could get everything picked up and brought to the office before they went out and head out on their day.
You know what else, Nick, is we're talking about culture and components and ingredients of that is being vulnerable. So your team knowing that you don't have all the answers,
Yep.
and that you depend on them to have them. So you already said, not only do you give them those titles, but you say, listen, I'm going to give you this title because you're proud of what you do. I also want you to tell me what's going to make us better in that area of what you
Absolutely.
do. I'm sure you sit there while you're cleaning a toilet or cleaning a wall and think of ways that we could be doing it better. We all need to know that, because I don't have all the best ideas. So
No.
being that vulnerable, everyone knowing you've got scars from what you went through,
Yep.
and that you had, they say, okay, well, we've got what we got now because he had to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And there's endearing that. So I want to move forward to the dividends have been paid from having a good culture. Besides, you would have done it no matter what.
We didn't no
What-
matter what.
Tell me what your December looked like.
Well, December was awesome for me because we were busy. We were pretty busy. We had a couple big projects going on, and I had decided I was taking 3 weeks off.
A goal.
A goal. It was a goal. It was a goal of mine that we had actually shot for a long time, and I wanted to see how the business ran without me, from top to bottom, with not having me involved. So I spent, actually not me, our crew. We spent, the last several months just really building up our staff, and hardest part for me, Clark, delegation. I had to delegate so much stuff off to everybody, but I had to make sure that I felt it wasn't a trust factor. I just had to let go of it and just and just truly believe that they were going to take care of stuff. So I was off from the 20th, 18th, 19th, I think 19th or 20th of December, Clark, until I came back to work the 11th of January, and it was great. They bugged me. I got maybe 2 phone calls that whole time, and they were minor issues. It was actually a couple things that we didn't think about that actually came up that they had to get a hold of me. They didn't bug me the rest of the time. And the probably the most rewarding part is when I came in January 11th, I spent a couple hours in the morning going over recaps of what new jobs came in, where we were at with some of our current jobs, and that was it. I didn't have a bunch of follow-up phone calls to make. I didn't have a bunch of tasks to follow up on. Clark, taking even a week off years ago would result in me working 80 hours a week for 2 or 3 weeks catching up, depending on how busy we were.
Yeah. I know that was a goal of yours. And so going back to, delegating, we have calls, we have scheduled calls that we have over every week or so, but then even between, I sometimes feel like you want to reach to the phone and punch me, because how often do I say, Nick, you should delegate that, right?
Oh,
you should give that to somebody else. So he's all like, I know. So you started opening up. Well, you're going to tell me I shouldn't have done this, but I have a good reason, and I get it. Like, listen, the whole thing about delegation in anybody's company is not to mean that you have the least to do, but it's for you to do the important work.
My what my job in this company now
Mm-hmm.
is not so much to run the company as it is to guide and vision cast this company and be a support for all of my employees, and make sure that each and every one of the people that work with us feels valued. And I truly want, Clark, I want every one of my employees, I asked every single one of them to put on a piece of paper coming into the 2019. I wanted their goals for the company, their personal goals for the company, and I asked them, put some personal goals on there for yourself. Because I truly want to be involved in helping them succeed on all their goals.
We read through those yesterday, and some of them, yes, there's business ones, and we can help with that. But we saw some finish a renovation, buy a better truck, buy a house, and listen. You might ask yourself, well, that's great. What do you need? No, we need to dive in and say, well, what can we do? Like, is there some coaching? Can we get you some business management classes? Can we help you introduce you to a lender that'll give you a checklist?
Yeah, exactly.
What is it? How about this? How about your bonuses that you get from me? How about I put those into a tax referred, maybe there's some kind of investment plan where you don't spend it, and you say, can I help you save? Because it might not be the stream.
Yeah. And
that's where everybody lifts each other up. So I liked reading all of the goals, and some of them were surprising.
Yeah.
And like, wow, that person really wants to, but most of them were like, we want to see what else we can do here. I like there was one, I was like, we've done so much, just imagine what else we can do. And that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And I think that being a boss that has an open mind, open door policy where anybody can come in and talk to me, not about jobs, but actually things, I mean, I've had people come in and talk to me about personal things in their lives, and they just wanted to talk for a while. And I'm talking our staff, our team members. And so having that is part of good culture, and it's important because it's also important to allow them to be heard and feel heard and take their ideas into consideration. Some of my best ideas that we have implemented in this company have come from listening to my technicians or listening to my staff and taking the ego out of it. This isn't about me. I don't care if I came up with it. I don't care if it's the newest guy that sees something. If he has something that's going to better this company, why wouldn't I take that into consideration? And that's part of making everybody feel valued.
I love, you guys all text and play. Everybody here's a nickname. That's fun. Every morning you kind of have a kickoff meeting for the day. It's like, here's what the day looks like. And listen, they are digital. There's CRMs and platforms and software that everybody could look at their schedule, but there's something about getting together in the morning, and then so you have a shout out. Who did something extraordinary or that you thought they went above and beyond their role. So there's a good shout out, and then I guess on Mondays you have everybody writes a piece of paper.
So everybody votes for the previous week on which team member they saw consistently going above and beyond. And so then what we do is we take whoever they vote for, and we give them $50 cash. So that goes right into their pockets, and they love it. It's great. Something else that we do too, which I think is great at building, and we do this about once a month as well, is we actually take everybody's name. We make every team member draw from a hat somebody's name. They can't draw their own, and we make them give 2 positives and a negative. So, and that's kind of what I called it, 2 positives and a negative. And the negative isn't because we're wanting to point out flaws, but we want to find things that they can work on. For instance, one of the ones I actually would get a lot when my team members would draw my name is Nick is great at communication. Nick is great at taking care of customers. Nick needs to delegate more. So they would give
Yeah.
me 2 positives and a negative. And the negative isn't that Nick sucks at delegation
It's a
or
coaching.
Nick's a control freak. It's a coaching. It's a coachable moment, and it's not coming from me.
Yeah.
It's not coming from manager. It's coming from their own peers. And our guys love that because it's an opportunity for them to really sit back and build on that. And it's an opportunity for them to look at each other and say, hey, I don't know, because it's discreet. They don't know who did it, but we've had guys stand up and say, hey, whoever said that I need to do such and such better, please come and talk to me after our morning meeting, because I really want to know exactly what you meant, because I want to get better. I want to be an ace at whatever I do.
Yeah. You know, we were sitting down writing some job descriptions, and some of the job descriptions that we were writing today were for positions that didn't exist, but we have some people that want those positions. So what do we decide to do?
Well, so I assigned them tasks, and I said, I want you to write a job description of what this position looks like.
Yeah.
That way it's coming from them, and I'm getting their feedback. And actually, but right before we started this podcast, I went up to one of my project managers and he's project manager. He wants to be elevated to a department manager. And Clark, I told him, he said, so what are you asking for? Are you wanting SOPs? And I said, no. I said, I want bullet points.
Yeah.
And his eyes lit up, and he's like, so you want me to tell you exactly how I think the job should be? I said, pretty much. I want you to tell me every single responsibility that you're going to have in that job description.
What would you be accountable for?
What should you be accountable
Yeah.
for? And then he says, well, one of the other gals says, well, I want to help with that. Perfect.
Collaborate.
That's your guys'. You saw when it's due.
Yeah.
Get it done.
And then you're going to
awesome.
get it, and you might have some things to touch
For
up,
sure.
but they will say, you know what, it was 90% theirs with some coaching.
Yeah.
You know, you and I watched a video with Jocko, said if your team has a 70% plan, go with their plan and coach them through the rest
absolutely.
of it. Even if you're 100%,
Even if
let
you're
them
100%.
go.
Yeah, because that's part of valuing. That's part of instilling value. If you have a business where, and actually, not to throw any of my competitors under the bus, but we had a gentleman who came to work for us this past fall. He had been at another restoration company in town. I usually do not hire other people from other restoration companies, but he had just been beat up by the ownership and the management, not valued, not respected. And his first week here, he was just blown away. He would go up to my managers and say, I just can't believe that you guys actually ask us for feedback, and he felt valued.
Yeah.
And his wife actually told him, this is the best I've seen you, the happiest I've seen you in a long time. She's like, it's the new job.
Doesn't that touch you down deep?
It really does, because it's not just me. It's a proud moment
Yeah.
for what we
Everybody.
created, for
Everybody.
what everybody has been a part of, and for what everybody has done to get us there. Because the thing about that, Clark, is you can't buy that.
No.
That has to.
You don't learn it in school.
You don't learn it in school. It has to come naturally, and
It comes to your growth
your
and
growth and
your
and
failures and wins and
your failures and your wins, and that's what's exciting about it, is we instill value.
and nobody can take it from you
Nobody
either.
can take it from us. And so I put a lot of emphasis on making every single person in our company feel like they matter and that they have a voice.
And I think you've done that. I think everybody here, there's a relaxation. I mean, I see people, nobody's uptight and tense. And even, you know what, even when they make mistakes, I don't see them come and say, God, boss, I messed up. I said, listen, we need to, I've got an idea for an SOP because I made a mistake that it's just something I didn't know, and there might be others that didn't know it. So, you know, I know we got to start wrapping it up. There was something that happened last year that I kind of ties into this. You had employed over a summer or two. You had employed, I guess, two young men that had been off at college, and one of them, Jake, was it? Jake.
Yeah, Jake, yeah.
Jake had been here a couple part-time summers and spring break or whatnot.
Yep.
And you had started casting this vision about all this stuff you wanted to do. And maybe there's a part of him that says, yeah, it's just talk or whatever. And I don't know what he was in school for, but he came back this past summer and he's like, holy cow, look at all this technology. You've got Matterport, you've got a computer system, you've got people, you bought their building and you're renovating. You really did everything, you know. And of course you said, but it wasn't just me. It was an army. The village.
An army, the building.
Yeah, the village did it. So And the last thing, I think we probably have touched on some things that some people will start saying, you've given me some ideas, and I already have that. I just am not. A lot of people are saying, that's in me. I'm just not putting it out. But I will tell you, and I think from what we first started talking about, and I know for me, this means you getting outside of your business, and everybody should join something like an industry association, go to these conferences, meet other peers that are of high quality, because they're probably either struggling with it currently and you can do it together, or they've overcome. Have you ever met Nicole Humber from BRC Restoration? Did you meet her at REITs?
I don't think so.
So Nicole is a culture queen. I mean, she is a girl boss, #girlboss. Nicole, I know you're going to listen to this and you're going to blush, or no, you might actually like me talking about you. But culture is it. Her team, she's in Santa Rosa, California, above San Francisco.
Okay.
Woman-owned business in a very, very tough market. Done it right. And I will tell you, we talked about early on in this call about everybody's shorthanded right now. And so some people fear, if I put so much into my staff and make them feel that way, listen, your competitors are going to eventually try to start stealing your people. But if your culture's right and if the direction's right, they're not going anywhere. They're going to tell you, say, hey, I got so-and-so's trying to call me and hire me, but I know how they're nothing like it here is here. And maybe another $1 an hour, it won't matter.
It's happened.
And it happens. And now that staffing is as hard as it is, with the direct problem we talked about, it's time. You don't lock them. You can't just pay somebody an extra $1 to keep them.
No.
They're gonna leave they'll leave you if they don't believe in what you're doing, or if they don't think you have a future. So you've got to do these other things. And again, ego has a lot to do with it.
It is. And actually, it's funny you say that, because we actually had another restoration company come after one of my key project managers, and numerous occasions, and every single time he's like, no, I'm not going to leave this, because I truly believe in the vision here and I want to see it through, and I truly believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. And Clark, he turned down more money, and he never even came back to me and said, hey, I want more money to stay.
Yeah.
He said, you know what? He's like, I know what I have here.
Yeah.
I know what the growth is here. I know where we're going, and I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's good culture.
It's good culture. And again, it's hard to find, it's hard to see, but you know it when you have it. So to get there real quick, I would first off say, you've got to do an audit. You've got to take a real hard look of who's on your team right now. You've got to figure out a filter. Do they match in all these categories? Maybe you come up with they've got to be a 1 through a 5, and they've got to be better than a 4 average or something, or maybe they don't fit, and especially depending on what category it is. And then you've got to open yourself up and tell the good ones, saying, look, we're going to shift. And it might take 6 months, it might take 2 years, but we're going to make this a much better place, because I think the future for us is in culture. Mm-hmm. And you've got to do that. And just drop your guard. It's just so much. But this was important enough to have a bonus podcast about it, because it's talked about a lot. Can you hire a coach to help with it? Absolutely. Is it required? No. If you read something by Simon Sinek, Know Your Why. There's a lot of good books on culture, but Simon Sinek's is a really good one. But just reach out to some people who you see, either if you're in a Facebook group or if you're online and you've been to an event and you say, man, I think that person's really got a good culture. I bet you reach out to them and ask them for some of their time. They'll not only give you your time, they may actually say, why don't you hop on a plane and fly out here and work with us for a day or two or a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can't go to any school and learn what you'll learn from watching someone else with implementation with that. So
very true.
I'm super glad to know you. I pull a lot of things that you're doing and spread that across this industry with even some of my other clients and even some of the classes I teach, because I think it's been a great example of what can be done, and not a lot of people would have quit at this point, stopped doing it. But I want to thank you for joining me on the podcast. I know you wanted to be famous, and you didn't get to go to any live concerts last year. So
didn't get to be famous. So didn't get to go to any live concerts. So, but no, and we appreciate everything you've done for us as well, Clark, because you've been a very instrumental part in helping us build this as well, and helping us, get out of what's been stuck in us, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I do. I think I often challenge y'all's beliefs,
mm-hmm.
and I take off the blinders sometimes, because we all have blinders, and we don't know what we don't know, and we start to think that this is how this has always been done, and this is safe.
Yes.
So I know that I sometimes challenge, and I get challenged a lot. So I think, they don't all work out. Some of them we swing in a miss, and some of them we make contact, and some of them we actually hit some home runs. So really proud of what you've done. Really,
Thank you.
really, really proud that you've helped. If 3 or 30 people hear this, I hope it gets put into place. And
if I could even help one person
Yeah.
make a difference in their business, it's worth it.
and reach out to. I'm gonna make your phone blow up. Reach out.
Do it.
Faithful
Give them my
Disaster
number.
Restoration Billings. It's not hard to find. Beautiful place to come visit, come up here. But really moving and shaking. Probably doesn't have everything figured out, but you've got the good stuff figured out, and it can only get better.
It's only going up from here.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Clark, man. Appreciate you.
See you, buddy.
See
Take
ya.
care, everyone.